Hello and welcome to Adventure U, Lessons from Adventurous Woman. Today is a special episode because we are kicking off our Try Something New challenge. This is an event that goes on through July, and we're challenging women all over the country to get out of their comfort zone and try something new. For more information about the Try Something New challenge, you can go to our website, leagueofadventurouswomen.org. Today we're speaking with Stacy Allison, who is the first American woman to summit Mount Everest. If you have any questions, you can comment them below in the YouTube section, and we'll get to them in a bit. All right, so Stacy, thank you for joining us today.
I'm honored to be here. I'm thrilled.
Yay, I'm excited about this. So you were the first American woman to summit Mount Everest. Talk about that. How did you feel? When did you, when you finally reached the top, how did you feel?
Well, when you stand on top of Mount Everest, it's not an intellectual experience. It's very emotional because you worked so long and you worked so hard just to reach that goal. So it's more an emotional release. And I felt a swell of emotion rise from my toes all the way up through my body. And when you're, at least for me anyway, and I think this is true for many people, when you achieve something that you've put a lot of effort into, because it's not an individual effort, many times it involves an entire team of people working together, which is how it is in climbing.
Mm-hmm.
You want to share that experience. You want to see your success reflected in someone else's eyes. And so I felt the swell of emotion, and then I turned around. I wanted to hug someone. I wanted to really feel that and share that with someone. But when I stood on top of Mount Everest, I was there initially by myself.
Oh.
Yeah, so 15 minutes later, Pasang joined me on top, and his joy was a joy for me to watch.
Oh, so I bet you gave him a big hug.
Oh, yeah. Your high fives and all of that.
Yeah, exactly. So how long did it take?
It took, well, first of all, my first try on Mount Everest was the year before in 1987. And we attempted our climb from Tibet, and it was the north face, which goes straight up, a lot of technical rock climbing and ice climbing and snow. And we were trapped in a major storm on the way up to the top, to the summit. So I was very fortunate. The following year, I did go back. That time, my successful time was from the south side, the country of Nepal. And from base camp to the top, it took 29 days.
Wow.
I was 29 years old, and it was the 29th of September.
Oh my gosh.
So, but you have to understand too that once you reach the top of a mountain like that, when you're working with an expedition, a group of people, that your job isn't over once you reach the top and you come back down. So I stayed on the mountain. We stayed on the mountain another 3 weeks after that, trying to get other team members to the top.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. I have no idea how that would take that long. I really had, I don't know. I guess I.
Well, when you're
assumed.
climbing Mount Everest, the big thing about high altitude climbing is that you have to acclimate to the elevation. So when you're going up, you're setting up intermediate camps where you can sleep to acclimate. And so we set up 4 camps, and we have to carry, at least back when I climbed the mountain, we didn't have, we set up our own camps. We fixed our own ropes. We established the route to the top. The Americans did. And so we're carrying loads of food and equipment many times. So for example, let me just back up even further. Let's go between base camp at the bottom of the mountain to our first camp. It's about 2,000 feet. It's the Khumbu Icefall. It is like a waterfall, and it's a solid moving mass of snow and ice that drops just like a waterfall would drop and moves downward. It took us 10 days to fix the route through the icefall, but once that route was established, it would only take maybe 3 or 4 hours to go up that distance. And so we set up our first camp on the mountain above the icefall. We made many trips carrying loads of food, fuel, and equipment up to that first camp, dropping that off, coming back down empty. So many, many times. You might climb Mount Everest 3 or 4 times before you ever get to the top.
Oh, okay. So yeah, that makes sense. That's a lot. So why do you think the Try Something New challenge is important?
It's important because when you try something new, you learn about yourself. Trying something new is uncomfortable. It pushes you out of your comfort zone to pushes you beyond perhaps your limits. You gain a certain amount of self-confidence every time you try something new, you try something different. And I think that's the biggest thing. There are a lot of things you can learn, but I want to say that I think the important thing when you try something new is you've got to remember you can reach for the stars, but you have to start where you are with the skill set that you have. And don't overdo it the first time you go out. If you're, and especially women who are doing something new with a male partner, if a male already knows how to do what you're doing, or even it happens with other women, they may try to push you in over your head. And if you are so uncomfortable, you'll never go back to it again. So remember to start where you're at with the skills that you have.
Right. I think that's a really good point that a lot of people don't really think about is, you have to start where you are comfortable with. And, we push up trying to get out of your comfort zone, but don't do it too much. You don't want to scare yourself.
And for example, if you want to do a 100-mile bike ride, you don't get on your bike and say, well, today I'm going to start riding my bike and I'm going to do 50 miles because that's, that sounds reasonable to me. Well, that's not going to work. You're going to be so pained by the time you're finished, you'll never want to get back on your bike again.
Yeah, exactly.
You start doing maybe 10 miles and then you work up to doing 50, to doing 75, to doing 100.
Yeah, exactly. And so we were talking about being or just like discouraged or afraid. Have you ever had an experience where you were so afraid, or you had any experience where you're thinking like, I can't do this anymore, I'm so scared?
A lot of times. No, climbing, sure. I'm afraid climbing every once in a while. And what I have to say to myself is first of all, it's okay to be afraid. Is this fear coming from something that is legitimate, some objective danger? For example, if an ice cliff is hanging over my head and I know that it could fall at any moment, that's legitimate. That's
legitimate. Wow.
But if it's just coming from my own, gosh, I've not ever done this before, this may be too hard for me, then that's really not legitimate because you don't know unless you try. And I think so much of our fear comes from our self-doubts that, well, I'll never be able to do that. But honestly, until we take the first steps, we never know. And I'm pretty good at overcoming my fears. It doesn't stop me. And I think one of the reasons that I'm able to do that is because I'm not afraid to fail. It is okay to go out and fall flat on your face, as long as you pick yourself back up and say, okay, what can I learn from that experience? What just happened? And use that information, turn it into knowledge that you can then use to get back on your feet and try it again. That's what you choose. And quite frankly, my mother is the one that taught all of her children that lesson.
Yeah, it's a good one because, obviously things don't work out all the time and you can get discouraged for a little bit, but then you got to get back on the horse, And
I think you hit it right on the nose that get discouraged, cry, let that all out, but then get over it.
Yeah, I think I was watching an interview one time, and I think it was Beyonce who said, if something goes wrong, I give myself 24 hours and then I get over it and move on. And I was taken aback. Like I kind of definitely was like, yeah, that's a good thing because you have to let yourself be discouraged, but then you got to move on and try something new.
Yeah, and I think women especially, we are sometimes so hard on ourselves, and
Hmm.
we want to save face. We don't want to show that that we have those emotions. But it's okay. So I appreciate you sharing that story.
Yeah. No, yeah, definitely. I love inspiring people and trying to like help them out, and all that. We actually have a comment from a, a viewer. How old were you when you started climbing?
I started climbing my first year of college, and it was an absolute fluke. Someone in the dorm I lived in put a notice on the bulletin board that he was going down to Zion National Park over spring break. And he just wanted people to share gas money with him. So another friend and I, Evelyn, we decided that it sounded like a great adventure and we'd love to go down there. And we went down. He had been climbing for a number of years, and so he taught us the basics. And for Evelyn and I, that 1 week of spring break actually turned into 2 weeks. And then we hitchhiked back to Oregon to continue with our spring semester of college. And I will say that when I started climbing, so I started rock climbing. And then about a year later, I started snow climbing. And my first snow climb was a winter blizzard ascent
Oh my
of
gosh.
a very small peak in Oregon. And we cross country skied 3 miles into the mountain. It was, again, my friend Evelyn and I, and then two of our male friends who'd been climbing for years. And it was horrible.
Oh no.
When your hands get cold and they warm up, you just want to cry because you're in so much pain. And then it took us a long time to do this climb. Then we had to ski all the way back out. And I remember, falling down on my skis on the way out and picking myself back up. And what I realized from that particular climb is that mentally I had what it took to push myself far beyond what I thought my physical capabilities were. And that's what really sparked my imagination into climbing mountains. And when you climb mountains, it's a combination of rock climbing, ice climbing, and snow climbing. And talk about failing. As we were earlier, I went to Alaska for my first time with two of my climbing partners. And I'd never really done sustained high altitude ice climbing. And I was not prepared because I had primarily been a rock climber. And they stuck with me and, pushed me. And I was very humiliated when we got off that climb. It was a first ascent of a peak called Mount Huntington. And I went off skiing by myself on the glacier, humiliated. I mean, I was in tears, and I realized from that particular trip what I needed to do if I wanted to really climb mountains. What are the skills that I needed? How did I need to change my mental outlook, my emotional outlook in order to push myself and feel the pain of climbing, yet move beyond that pain to reach the goal? So I learned a
Yeah.
lot.
I think it's really important that because what you were saying before is it's okay to fail, but I know like a couple of quotes and all that. One of them stuck with me is you only fail if you quit. If you learn something, you didn't fail. You just it's a new chance to try it again. But that's if you fail and you try again and you learn something from it, it's not really that much of a fail.
And I think what we need to understand is that failure is only a temporary situation.
Yeah.
Failure becomes permanent when you give up. Because when you give up,
Exactly.
you don't learn and you never go back.
Exactly. Okay, so we have another question here. Do you prefer climbing with men, women, or mixed groups?
I prefer climbing with my friends, which are
Makes
it's
sense.
either a combination of men and women, or I do want to say one thing because I think it's important. Women are hardest on women. We expect women, especially our counterparts, to be equally as talented and skilled and competent as we are. And when they're not, we tend to be incredibly hard on them. I have been on several climbs with women, only women, and those are the most stressful climbs I have ever been on. What I
Really?
find with men can be very competitive. Women are incredibly competitive with each other, and men can be competitive also. But when men are competitive, they don't hide that. I mean, you know it. Women tend to be more underhanded, and I know this is a generalization. I'm probably going to get lots of flack for that, but this is an observation. I see it in the business world as well, and I think it's important that we take a step back, especially if you're an accomplished woman and you want your friends to try something new with you. You have to really be patient and open to their experience because it's not really about you anymore. It's about getting someone started and trying something.
Absolutely. And yeah, I definitely agree. Saying that, you know, women are harder on each other. And I think that's something that everyone can work on, you know, just trying to be more supportive and not seeing everyone as your enemy, more as someone that you can learn with or you can teach something, you know. And, you know, once you realize that, it's like things stop being so hard, you know, so stop being so judgmentally once you're seeing your women counterpart as someone that you can be with rather than, you know, someone who you have to compete with.
Yes. And I actually nowadays have been doing a number of hikes and easy climbs with a group of gal pals. And we have so much fun because we are out there absolutely to support one another. And we're not competitive. If someone needs help, we're there to take their pack. We just did for example, a 23-mile hike over 11,000 foot elevation gain. It's called Cactus to Clouds. It starts in Palm Springs and goes all the way up to San Jacinto Mountain. And we did it in one day. And one of my friends had a really tough time. And I took her pack from her and I said, I'm not leaving you. We're gonna do this together. And all four of us finished the climb, and it was fabulous. It was incredibly challenging.
That does sound really challenging. I mean, just last week I was at Assateague Island in Ocean City, Maryland, and we were hiking around there, and I was just struggling with the 1 mile trail, so I can't even imagine 23 miles. Wow, that would probably kill me.
Well, again, you work up to it. You work up to it.
That's true.
And I'd like to just share, just briefly, I have a friend, Amy, who had never really been camping before in her life. And she decided that she was going to climb Mount Hood, which is in Oregon, with the Lung Association. And I'm the chairperson of this particular climb. It's called Climb for Clean Air, Reach the Summit. And so we train our climbers for this fundraiser in February, starting to do climbs or hikes every single weekend. And she built up and she was able to climb Mount Hood. And now she is hooked. And you cannot get this woman to stop hiking. It has changed her life. And now this summer, in 3 weeks, we'll be climbing Mount Rainier, which is the highest peak in the state of Washington. So it's just because of that one experience of again, you know, we talk about trying something new. It changes lives.
Absolutely. Yeah. And you should tell her to, you know, take some pictures and hashtag them and, you know, try something new because we need people to get out there and do things and post them online so other women can get inspired and see what other people are doing.
Good idea.
Yeah. So we have another question. So sorry, I am. I got mixed up. Sorry. So okay, here we go. Advice. So, you know, someone watching this right now, what advice do you have for them to say, like, say now they're totally inspired by you and wanting to climb. So where should they start? What organization should they reach out to, etc.?
In most of the major cities that we live in today, there are rock climbing gyms, places you can go to do indoor rock climbing, and they offer courses. And so I would, say that that would be a good place to start. Our indoor gyms. Now, not every state. If you live in the Midwest, you're not going to have any mountains that you can climb, nor down in Florida or the South. But there are fundraisers, for example, fundraisers like the Lung Association, Climb for Clean Air, where we offer, and they're guided climbs that we offer that you can raise money. You can do something that is healthy for yourself and then give back to the community in some way. So those are available. And if you live in mountainous regions, for example, you can always go down to your local outdoor store, REI, for example, and they offer classes as well. So I would say definitely take a class, learn your skills. It's very important to know your skills and start out with the very basics, and go from there.
Yeah, just basic, start out basic. That's good advice. You know, don't want to try, too much too fast. But how do you stay in shape for your climbs? Because obviously, 23 miles doesn't come easily.
I'm doing a lot of running these days. So I run, and occasionally I'll do a marathon. The next marathon I do will be in Greenland, actually.
Oh, wow. That's
Yes, I
awesome.
have a friend who's a major runner, and she and I are going to go to Greenland and do the marathon there.
That's
I also
awesome.
mountain bike ride, so I'm riding on trails, and I whitewater kayak, and that's how I stay in
Wow.
shape.
A lot of outdoor stuff.
A lot of outdoor stuff.
Do you how often do you do it? Like every day, twice a week, that kind of thing?
I run almost every single day of the week.
That's good.
So,
So,
and that's my primary activity.
okay, gotcha. But you don't do like any like weightlifting or any strength training for rock climbing or anything?
I do not lift weights. I am a residential building contractor, so
Oh, seem to have lost her. Well, we seem to be having some sort of technical. Oh, are you back, Stacy? Don't know what's happening here. Apparently, some sort of connection issues. Well, while we try to get this fixed, we will see if we can get Stacy back here. Okay, well, we're going to end this now. We might be able to get Stacy back, but just so everyone knows, Try Something New is all throughout July, and you can go to our website, leagueofadventurouswomen.org, and we will be posting a lot of everyone trying something new all throughout July. Thanks for watching, and go try something new.